Hey, it's the podcast guy.
Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United at the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this. But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United from the National League are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast, sponsored by Lucky Star Gin, and I'm your host, Mike. With me today on the panel, we have got Claire and Sarah, and hopefully their recollection of the game is a lot better than mine, because it was 2 days ago. There's no chance of me remembering anything from 2 days ago. I can barely remember one day. But we are covering the home draw against Barrow, I think it was, and we'll look forward to the trip against Mansfield, although I think I've wrote down Maidenhead, yeah. Anyway, moving on. I'm so good at this. This is just awesome, top quality content. Engagement is important. However, engagement telling me my mistakes, probably I would waste your breath because I've never learned from them. But do like, share, retweet, and all the other normal stuff on social medias. I really do appreciate it. And anyone who does it regularly, thank you very, very much. So we're going to jump in. We're going to say hello to everyone. And we'll start with you, Sarah. How have you been?
Good, thank you, Mike. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. So I think last time you were on, it was all nice and sunshiny, and sort of, I think it was late September-ish. So still full of the joys of it'll be all right, we're fine, we're having a bit of teething troubles. And today's the coldest day of the year, apparently. Well, it's only a new year. But how's your Sutton United been since September? Been up and down or just plodding along going, it'll be fine, rocking gently in the corner?
Yeah, probably the same as everyone else. It's been kind of mounting horror. But actually, recently it has felt a little bit less terrifying, I think.
Yeah, I think we're all on different stages of grief. I think I put it to at some point earlier in the season. Someone was further along the journey than we were. And Claire, it was about a month ago for you, well, less than a month ago, I guess. It was Boxing Day, I think.
Yes.
Or after Boxing Day. How have you been?
I've been very well, thank you, Mike. Cold, very cold. My office is colder than outside, it felt like today, so that was fun, well worth the journey. Like Sarah, probably going through the motions with some of it, and different stages of grief, I think, is still appropriate for the last so. I'm somewhere in trying to acceptance, but still denial. So, it's a process.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of us all very old school and very boring as well, really, when you say it. It's like, support the club. Yes, I've got my own personal opinions, but this is the decision the club's got, and this is what I'm going to support. Whether I like this person, that person, the other person, doesn't make any difference. This is the person, this is the way the club's going, this is the players we've got, support them. When they're not our players and so on anymore, then you can maybe have different opinions, but it's all supporting the club. On the coldness, I have to say, I got one of those heated gilet things, which I thought, why on earth do I need one of them? That's ridiculous. And then I stood on the curver and I put it on as a joke and I went, oh, this is nice.
Yeah, electronic hand warmers that Loz and Dean got for Christmas, and they're great because I don't like gloves. So they're in your pockets, and then you've got these little handles almost you're holding onto them. They're toasty.
Yeah, very nice, very nice.
I need to find my heated insoles, which a Mansfield fan pointed me towards, actually. So I need to find them in time for Saturday, won't I?
What I did, I double socket now, so I got a little routine. But what I used to do is Poundland or someone used to sell the smaller things you could, the heat patches for your back and stuff. I used to put them in my shoes.
I've got ones that go in my shoes for football that I bought a job lot off of the internet for, and they are very, very good. But I don't know that they're disposable, like you want something to reuse. So
do you know what? I was going to say that, and I thought I don't want to make Claire feel bad here.
No, it's
but
fine.
yeah, it was because they were one shots. I stopped doing it. They were only one. Yeah. Sound like a right eco warrior. So a few bits of news. The ladies' side suffered another defeat. They, I believe, are coming very close to a manager in the next few weeks. And so hopefully we'll get things turned around there. I think I haven't looked at the league table for a while, but I think they're kind of in that weird position where they're not going to do anything either way. So it kind of big defeats are never helpful, but it's not really that urgent. Coach travel, lots of away games in January, and it's capped. I didn't write it down, £25, I think it is. So use the link on the forum. Can't go to the ground anymore because they're not there. Or email John Parsons and tell him you want to get on and pay in advance now, which it should have been always. I don't know why it never was, but it should have been always. One other nice little thing, I think you both saw this. The guy who was doing the 92 challenge, we were club like 35 or something, so he's not really far into his challenge, but he made a whole big day of it, did a whole blog about it, and he said such lovely things. And it's just like you read it and you're, oh, that's nice. Then you read it again, you go, oh no, that's really nice. And especially like mention names of Ryan, Sam and Phil. He didn't mention Frakey's name, but he called him the security guard, which obviously Frakey's pulled him up on already. But yeah, it's really nice to see those kind of things, and it does kind of make me really proud because yes, we are one of the professional clubs, but it's those little things that people's experience of it and spreading the word of those experiences is just heartwarming. I know, Sarah, you said it's very similar to that as well. One other thing, which I'm sure we'll come back to, there's a shareholder meeting and a Q&A with the SLO. Who's that? Who is the SLO? Let me look it up. Claire's going to answer all your questions.
I'm going to put all of your questions to more learned friends, shall we say. But yes, on the 24th, so you've got a shareholders AGM. So if you are a shareholder, you should have had an invitation to that. And then if you want to come down to the fans forum, which is the same evening, slightly afterwards, then everyone is welcome at that. And yeah, myself and Tim will be there, as well as I believe Adrian and potentially a couple of other people. So some good people to ask questions to, and also get an update of all the things that are happening off the pitch, whether that be redevelopments and that kind of space. So feel free to come along and ask questions.
Okay, I'm going to start managing some expectations there, because people can ask us whatever question they want. They might, just so everyone knows, you might not get your answer because it might not be A, appropriate to say, and B, it might not be known. So if you do ask a question, or you hear someone asking a question and you think, oh, they didn't answer that, it always gets answered, but it might be after.
Oh yeah, and there's also that kind of like, if we can't answer your question there and then we'll tell you why, or at least a slight indication of when you might be able to have an answer. But there's always a reason behind that. But as you say, come along and lots to listen to. Yes.
This is kind of really old news now, but Harry Smith got an extra 2-game ban. And he's now, someone's worked out, a quarter of the season he's basically missed so far, if he doesn't get sent off again. I kind of had a bit of a question because one of the Crawley players got sent off and the wording of the charge was very, very similar. But theirs was a 1-game thing and a £600 fine. And Harry's was a 2-game thing and £750 fine. So there must have been something. He might use an extra verb or adjective or something in there.
It could also potentially be that he's already had one red card that he's been penalised for this season, so that might be taken into account.
That doesn't suit my biased agenda here. That logical explanation. I want up in I want pitchforks and all the rest of it. There has been some new signings and some outgoings. Damani, hardly a big surprise, didn't really do an awful lot since he was here. He's gone to Rochdale already, which is where he was last year. Dion, I've kind of expected he might have pushed on, but for whatever reason, Steve obviously thought, well, that's a chance to get some space, or Luton called him back. We're not entirely sure which. And then Dominic's contract was not extended. So good luck to all of them, and thank you for everything you've done. But in comes Charlie. I hope it's Lakin, not Lacking, because that doesn't sound so great. He looked good on Saturday, the bit he came on. So looking forward to seeing him. Ollie, I can't remember his surname, Sanderson? Yeah. Again, young guy, and Nino, although we've been spelling it with one eye, but his agents post out saying it had two eyes in it, and I was like, oh, maybe there's two eyes in his name, not one. Or they could have made a typo. Who knows? We'll find out. But they're both quite young. I don't think they've had a huge... I think Ollie's had some men's football at Oxford, but it's the kind of thing that you need a gamble. I was told by someone that Nino is a very highly graded youngster at Millwall, and he's one of the names on the academy. So we look forward to him. But that's where we're going to be. As I said, I think on the forum, was our shopping is going to be either people who've got a bit of injury problems, and we hope it doesn't happen again, or untried, untested talent. So we will see. But yeah, good luck to everyone, and hopefully we'll have lots to praise you about. Well, there's one other thing. I had a little party on Saturday because I'm an old man now. So thank you to everyone who hung on and played, you guys as well. Thank you to everyone, and everyone who wished me a happy birthday as well. I'm now an old gid. But on Saturday, we also discovered that Steve isn't going to help me get my 11 out of 11 anymore, because he didn't do the team talk or the going through lineup. I don't know whether he'll never do it, or it was just he didn't know he was supposed to. I don't know what the thing was, but I think I got 6 out of 11 because I had no inside knowledge, which probably is closer to my actual knowledge. But what were your guys' thoughts ahead of kickoff? Sarah, we'll start with you. What were you kind of hoping, expecting before the game?
I was just hoping for something a bit different. I didn't really know what, but I've been saying for a while that we have on paper got a really good squad, and it's been really clear for quite a long time that we're not getting as much out of those individual players as we perhaps should be or possibly could. So when the new manager was announced, I just thought, well, I think a lot of our problems here are psychological. I just hope he can kind of get into them. Didn't know what sort of manager he was in that sense, whether he was the man to do that. But, he's the one that the club chose to appoint for obviously good reason. And I was quite excited to see what differences there were going to be, really.
We'll come back to one of those bits in a second. But Claire, what were you thinking before the game? What were your hopes?
Very similar to Sarah, to be quite honest, thinking, that we have on paper one of the best squads we've ever had. And it just hasn't, for whatever reason, gelled or come to fruition in the way that we all expected it to, I think, at the beginning of the season. So was interested to see whether there'd be any changes to that, or whether, those people would step up and play in a slightly different way for a different manager and a different structure, I suppose. Although noting that, it was day 6 for him. So it's not, realistic to think that Steve would have made great waves in that time. But, you make inroads, don't you? And you do change things. So being slightly more I don't know, am I optimistic or pessimistic in a sense? I kind of walked into it thinking I'd really like a draw today. Like, this is a tough game, and if we could walk away with a point, then I'd be happy with that. In reality, at the end of it, I was somewhat disappointed not to walk away with 3.
Yeah.
But, I mean, aren't we always? But still, yeah, it was refreshing, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots to unpick. One of the things is, I think potentially the players were comfortable and management were comfortable and friendly with the players, and it's difficult to kind of go back to that not ranting, but no, hang on, I don't want to be friendly anymore. Whereas a new person can come in and do that. And Sarah, you mentioned the psychological side. He does seem very, very keen on that. He's brought in Steve Salis to work with the players, and Steve does a lot with the right mindset and so on. And there's an interview someone posted on the forum, which I've only heard it halfway through, and there's an awful lot that he's talking about the mental aspect of the game in that interview. So it's about an hour long. It's from about 4 years ago, I think, potentially before he actually went into management. But it's been interesting so far. So it's worth a little listen. It's on the forum. Someone posted it up. So yeah, he does seem like slightly different. Although the wording they chose to use on the forum I didn't particularly like, obviously, but it was pointed out it was a lot quieter on the sidelines.
I mean, that in itself, I picked up on that, and I thought it was like, it's weird, isn't it? And I think it falls in that you're in your weird different stages of grief, because you're stood there and your gut instinct is that you should hear Matt shouting from the other side, and it was one of those things that made you realise that he wasn't there perhaps a little bit more. But yeah, I think the psychology side of it is interesting, and I think it's really important to pick up on. I think I made the comment to someone a little while ago in a slight, well, they do it on Ted Lasso and it works, so why haven't we got a sports psychologist trying to unpick some of these things? Not that everything is an episode of Ted Lasso. There are a lot of comparisons we could be making. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that affects. And I think it's really important to, if you know that you have the potential to be doing things, to unpick the reasons as to why, psychological barriers.
I think it's really important as well, and it's good to. I felt that was a really good sign that he clearly picked up on the fact that that was a thing that he needed to bring to the club somehow. And I was actually wondering if that was part of the whole not shouting from the sidelines thing. Maybe he's felt kind of, you know what, I've told them what I want them to do, and I want to show them that I trust them to go and do it. Because if there's one thing this squad needs, it's confidence. And I actually felt like they did look more confident than usual out there. I felt there was kind of this renewed, vigor almost in the side. They always work hard. You can't ever say they don't work hard, but they just seem buoyed up. I don't know if that was my imagination or expecting a new manager bounce.
Yeah, and I think someone did say as well, it could easily be that they're all like, I've got to impress the new guy. But no, there is a definite, it seems he was like, here's my instructions, you're fit enough, you're good enough, just believe in it. Which is, to be fair, where we were, I mean, you said it yourself, probably on paper, the best squad we've ever had, and just not happening. And he said in one of his early interviews that the new faces he was bringing in wasn't necessarily because players were bad. It's just new faces haven't been around the bad luck and they're not feeling down. So as I say, it's not around the bad juju. We'll see. But it did seem a definite different style. And I think everyone was a bit dazed because the ball was being passed around the back and no one was yelling, get it forward for once. And that's one of the things in this interview he's talking about is it's difficult sometimes as a player, because obviously he was a forward and he was a bustling forward. And he said, you've got people screaming at you to close down the centre-backs. He said, you don't know what the manager's told me to do. So you're shouting at me to do that. And you're saying that I'm being lazy because I'm not doing it. But the manager said, no, let the centre-backs have the ball because they can't kick for toffee. So don't press them. Let them make their mistakes. So yeah, it's one of those that it would be nice to sort of dive into that a little bit more with him. I think it might be interesting for him actually, because obviously he's at a club where he's played Premier League football, he's played international football. None of us really know him. But I don't know who he is. We don't follow that circles. We're down here, so that'll be more fun for him. But yeah, we were on top, and then we left. I think Dino fizzed the ball out to Joe, and Joe didn't control it, and it went out for throw on. And while I think we were discussing matters, they took the throw on, and the smallest fella on the pitch managed to score. So how were you kind of feeling at 1-0? I think it was about 33 minutes in. So Claire, we'll start with you. Were you just kind of like, oh God, here we go?
I think that probably was my gut reaction, and I'd be lying to say it wasn't my gut reaction, because I think that's just kind of been a default position of late. But I didn't quite stray into catastrophizing, because I kind of thought, it felt slightly different. It did feel like there was a little bit more, like heads were a little bit higher, and that there was a kind of potential to say like, okay, well, let's see where this goes, rather than panicking straight away that was that, and here comes some kind of, I don't know, like terrible undoing. And I think that was right, because ultimately it didn't, that 1-0 didn't last very long, did it? And that equaliser things, I think you could see the switch change as soon as that goal went in. It was like, oh, hang on, we're not out of this, and that really almost spurred them on. You could really see that kind of moment of like, okay, we're back in this, let's go. And it was that was quite brightening in some way.
Sarah, what about you? It's sort of the 1-0. I mean, they did have a little spell on top, which did make me panic a little bit that, oh God, we could concede another here. But how were you feeling? Were you more confident and pessimistic, Mike? Or
I wasn't like that, actually, because I didn't have the heart to think, oh God, here we go, which I've had many times this season, I've got to admit. Didn't really have that. I was more like, oh, wasn't expecting that to happen. I don't know why I wasn't expecting to happen, because it usually does. But I think it's because of the way we've been playing up to that point. We hadn't been at our best, but we hadn't been at our worst either. And there was that, I had picked up on that different style of play, that new confidence in the players. And I was like, oh, but because that happened after I'd already kind of picked up on that difference, I did think, well, it's only 1-0. We can come back. I wasn't too worried at that point. I think the players' confidence had almost rubbed off on me, and I think I feel like I don't normally watch manager interviews, to be honest. But because it's a new manager, it's an unknown quantity, I've been kind of watching Steve's interviews, and he's got so much kind of self-belief and confidence. He's like, no, I'm going out there to win. I'm going out there to win. And I think maybe that's rubbing off on the players, which is exactly what they need. One of my favourite things he said is, it's not Brazil, it's Barrow. And I'm completely behind that comment, because no matter who we're playing, no matter where they are in the league, they're still in the same league as us. We've been put together for a reason, because we're roughly the same in terms of ability. So, there's no one in the league that, it's impossible to beat. We've beaten teams in divisions above us this season even. So at that point, when that goal went in, I thought, well, that's a bit of a setback, but, I wasn't feeling too upset, to be honest.
As you mentioned, Claire, we managed to put it back to 1-1. Harry with a goal, which is always nice. And
when Harry scores.
So we then go into the changing rooms, a little bit buoyed with the 1-1. I know Steve kind of played it down a little bit with still the same. It didn't really change a lot, but it does lift us at least. When we came out for the second half, they came out for the second half, and we went 2-1 up. We all watched from a fairly similar position. Claire, Sarah, were you behind the goal in your normal spot, or?
Yeah.
So when Harry or Lee tried to take the ball, but when Harry scored, and the linesman started attacking a wasp or something with his flag, were you worried? I don't know what he was doing, because
I didn't see that, because I'm quite small and I can't see much from where I am. There's people around me, and I could barely see the pitch, let alone the linesman.
I, like you, Mike, was really unsure as to what the hell was going on, because everyone around me was celebrating, but I was like, and in my gut, I was like, I think we just scored. I'm not really sure, but he was literally going crazy with his flag, and I'm thinking, is that offside? Is he called? I don't know what's going on, and I didn't want to get myself all excited gone ahead, because I wasn't really sure. And it wasn't until the ball was back in the center, I was like, oh, okay, cool. So that was a goal. Cool.
There was this. It's one of those weird things. Yay! And then it kind of stopped. Everyone looked at the linesman, and then there was this collective drawing of breath, and you were about to hear that. And then you ran back up towards the particular player. He's like, what was he doing? But anyway, fair play to the man. And Harry scored too.
I didn't know what was going on there. I was trying not to celebrate too hard just in case, but I was watching the players and their reaction. I'm like, well, they look happy, so I'm going to be happy as well.
I mean, I know they scored shortly afterwards. It was again one of those goals you could easily say that could have been cleared 3 or 4 times, but it wasn't. There's no point. I have to admit, I did like that little statement of, well, it went in. We'll look at the reasons why on Monday. There's not a lot we can do talk about it now. It's like, okay, you're going to make these interviews really difficult, aren't you? Because if you're not going to talk about anything, it's going to be hard. But there was a period sort of at that point where we started to do that sit back thing, and it was like, oh God, please don't. But then they didn't. They started coming forward again. I don't know whether that's a collective. They got the message on, or the subs he sent on passed the message round. Substitutions were again a bit different. Not just you couldn't set your watch going, oh, here we go, substitutions. And also, did you notice the corners? We left one up when defending a corner.
Yeah.
So what's he doing? Oh my God. We didn't do anything with it, but it was different. But overall, a 2-2 was probably fair because I think they hit the bar, and there was other like movements from them that you could have argued that they could have said we could have nicked that game. We could have nicked it as well. So I think 2-2 was probably fair enough. I know, Claire, you were like, I'm hoping for at least a draw. You got it. Steve's quite happy with, all right, I didn't win, I wanted to win. But he then also said, if you don't win, you don't lose. That's the important thing, especially in our position. And we're not on the bottom. We're off the bottom. At one stage, it was looking better for us because Colchester were losing as well. But they pulled that back. But overall, as a game in our position, Sarah, we'll start with you. What do you feel that game has done for us, or is it just ticked another one off and we move to the next one?
I think any game where we score 2 goals is a good thing this season. So that's good. And Barrow are a good side. They're well organised. You can't pull the wool over their eyes easily. And I'm really hoping that sort of puts more confidence into the side. Particularly, as I said earlier, I love it when Harry scores. And part of the reason for that is because the squad really look up to him. And, if Harry's happy, then maybe everyone else will be happy as well. But he's one of those players. I've been talking. Yeah, I've been talking a lot about the psychological element of it, and I think Harry's one of those players that gets really strongly affected by that. I mean, you can tell in his confidence. He always tries, gives 110%. He used a horrible football cliche. You will never meet a player who puts more of an effort in than he does. But I think sometimes he does get quite affected by the psychological side of things. So it's just made me really happy that he scored 2.
Yeah, he had his mate back with him as well, so he had a little bit more freedom. So it's easy watching his back going, go on, you just go do that, Harry. I'll do all this tidying up here. So Claire, what do you think the performance, the result for our season, how important is it?
I think to be fair, I think it's a really important game in a sense of, if you, as much as I try really hard not to, if you look at the sorry, that was really funny because you kept your mic.
That was I pressed the wrong button and I coughed down instead of pressing mute.
No sneeze button here, guys. But yeah, no, I think I've been avoiding looking at the table most of the time because I know where we are. But I did make a point of kind of thinking, right, okay, well, where are we? It's January. Let's have a little bit of a stock take. And where they are compared to where we are is, it's quite a gap, right? And let's be fair that, they've got 30 points more than us or something like that. And that could be quite telling if you're going to that with a negative attitude of like, oh, they're right up there, we're right down here. But if you can go into that game with your heads high the way that we did, perform the way that we did, could have quite easily, if we, nicked it, walked away with 3 points against them rather than the 1. As you say, it could have gone the other way as well. But to have had that little confidence boost of, oh, actually, yeah, we drew with Barrow, but we could have beat them, I think is a real step change going into them playing Mansfield next weekend, which, again, they're up there, they're really pushing, whereas, we're pushing to get ourselves out of the bottom. And I think it comes back to that psychological thing of actually, like, you know, as Sarah said rightly, it's a group of your peers, isn't it? Like, on any day, you know, the better team can win, regardless of where they are in the table. Yeah, okay, some of the money and the squad things come into it, but I do think it's it's a really important kind of step change for us, and hopefully will give us that little bit of a boost going into next weekend to think, actually, we could have had them. Let's try it again here, and I think that's really important.
Exactly. I think it's important just for the confidence thing of all those little runs. I know I joked around with it earlier in the season, but things like Steve can go in tomorrow and go, we're unbeaten under me. Let's just carry on. So those little things do give that confidence. And but if we were in the position Barrow in and they were in the position we were in, we would have been going into that game going, yeah, we're going to smash them because they're down the bottom. So it is a big result. I know it's only Barrow and it's not Brazil, but it is a big result.
I love
Yeah. But here's the player ratings. People have started to calm down a little bit and not be so brutal on these. So I may stick with them. So Dino got a 6, Joe 5.8, Ryan 6.6, Omar 7, Ben 7.8, Craig 7.4, running half, that's good. Christian got 6.2, Harry got 9.2, always better when you score 1 or 2 goals. Aiden 6.6, Omari 7.2, Lee 6.2, and Rob 6.2, Tope 6, and Charlie 7.8, which is obviously very impressive coming off the bench. I'll put them out later. So thank you to everyone for kind of not being so dramatic and putting 2s and 4s and whatnot down. But some of the things that was picked up is the change in play, sort of the more offensive sort of strategy. We've mentioned that a couple of times. We've mentioned the spirit and determination a couple of times. So kind of what we've been saying is what everyone has already covered with a potential positive outlook and a bit of excitement moving forward. So everything that we've said, you guys didn't read the script beforehand, was covered what everyone else is saying. So yay, we're not odds with everyone else. But next up is, as you mentioned, Mansfield, not Macclesfield. How do we win the game? What needs to happen? Claire, we'll start with you. What do you feel we need to do to get something out of this game?
I think more of the same of what we saw on Saturday. I think there's a real, it's another week. It's so cliched for lately. It's another week in the training ground, isn't it? It's another week under, new management, new ideas. There's new players. I think there's going to be. I think if you can continue that momentum of positivity, of thinking about what lies behind some of the negativity and trying to eliminate that, I think going into it with more of what we saw on Saturday, we'd be unlucky to walk away with anything less than a draw. I'd love to see us walk away with 3 points. I think that'd be great. And I think that would be an incredible confidence booster for the squad and a real success for Steve so early on in his tenure. But yeah, I mean, for me, I know it's maybe that's me being a bit reserved, but I'd love to see us walk away with a draw.
Okay. Sarah, I mean, Nigel Clough would absolutely disagree with that because he was he was very keen to point out that it's the first time he's actually beaten us the last game out. But what do you feel we need to do? Do you think the new signings will have a bigger role to play, or do you think they'll be sort of eased into it a bit?
Well, I don't know because we obviously haven't seen them yet, so it's hard to know now what they'll bring to the side. A bit more Easty would be nice, wouldn't it? I think that'll help having him back. And apart from that, it's pretty much what Claire said. More of the same, please.
The kind of hope is there that even you can take losing sometimes when it's like actually we did the best we can there. It's when you're getting that frustration of are we doing the best we can? So is a draw or a defeat the end of the world for tied at the top of the table. Is it the end of the world, or is it just one of it's what is it, a free hit? Everyone keeps saying, is this a free? We should do this whole episode on cliches. Is it a free hit?
We don't have any free hits anymore. We've run out of those.
Fair.
No, and I think, like, yeah, you're right. On one level, they are right up there. Is it unrealistic to say to yourself, well, you could lose this one? But I do think, you know, we're really fighting for something right now. Like, the last, you know, 3 or 2 and a bit years have been absolutely incredible. Somewhere that none of us ever expected to be. And selfishly, and I know you both agree with this, I'm not ready for that to be over. So, you know, you go out there and you fight for it. You fight for, you know, you fight for the shirt, you fight for the badge, you fight for the fans, and show them what you're capable of. And I think, you know, Saturday was a real glimpse of that. And, you know, I'd accept it if it happened, but I do think, like, they're capable of so much more than perhaps what maybe they've settled for this season. And I do think that, like, yeah, they can go out there and do us proud, and you know, let's keep pushing on. And that sounds so, like, airy fairy, but, you know, I just there is something, there's that romantic side of football, isn't there? And
Yeah.
I don't think that any of us are really ready to be anything less than a League Two side right now.
Yeah,
They're not Brazil, are they? They're not Brazil.
Still,
I did say at some point last season, I'm not going to go and find it, but I'd said that we were going to we were due a hard season, and I felt it was going to be this season. Next season we're going to go close, and the one after is the promotion season. That's the plan. It's the 5 years. It's every 5 years.
Every 5 years.
It's
true. It's true. But I also think that, like, we have been so spoilt by our first 2 seasons in the Football League, right? I think that our first year, you know, we massively overperformed. None of us expected to end up where we were, or, you know, to be that high up. If I'm being really brutally honest, I think I missed maybe 2 games in the whole of that first season, because I was absolutely convinced that it was going to be our one and only season in the EFL, so I might as well make the most of it. And never expected for a second, you know, that we'd have what we had. If what's happening this season had happened, I think we would have all been quite accepting of it in some respects. Yeah. And, you know, we've got a little bit of I don't want to say delusions of grandeur, because that's a bit wanky, really. But we got ideas. Those 2 seasons gave us ideas a little bit above our station, and there is that moment of, like, actually we've got to fight for this. Maybe we rested on our laurels a little bit too much. Look, more cliches.
Yeah, I mean, Johnny has said several times that he's kind of like, he joined or started supporting at the point of just constant. So him and anyone else who's come after him has basically not known anything other than success, apart from anyone who started joining, coming along at the start of this season, I guess, or mid last season. But yeah, I agree. And Steve must believe in the project. It's the cliches again, because he almost certainly had a promotion on his CV. If he hadn't left Hornchurch, he would have had a promotion on his CV. So he's not going to go, well, I'm going to give up that to take a chance and get relegated on that. So he must see something there. But we'll do some predictions. Yay. Hopefully this is going to work. I don't think it worked last week. There's the little QR code to the prediction league. Paul's been pulled back the last couple of weeks. So there's the little scan thing. So if you want to scan it, you can join in the prediction league. But Sarah, what do you think is your prediction? Or what do you think? What do you think is going to happen? What is your prediction?
Oh, crikey.
I'll just pick out some numbers. No one ever puts any money on this.
I'm going to go for another 2-2 draw, just because I can.
2-2 draw. Excellent. Lovely. Claire?
I'm going to say it will be, this is me being really descriptive here, it's going to be 1-1 going into, like, added time in the second half, and we'll score for the winner in like the 93rd minute. There we go.
I put 2-1 as well. I have to say, and I did think that we would come back from 1-0 down to win and tick all these boxes. So yay! That's almost guaranteed we're not going to win. Anyway, so we're going to wrap it up. Thank you both, and I forgot to say this at the start. Thank you both for delaying by 24 hours as well, because brilliantly, when I was at the thing on Saturday, I made plans for Sunday evening. Don't know why I made plans for Sunday evening. Not even convinced I did, because as I said, I've been hydrating since 1 o'clock, so I may well not have, but they just took advantage of me. But we're going to wrap up this episode of Sutton Podcast. As always, we appreciate your attention. I hope people could see that. Follow, like, share Sutton Podcast on all social medias. Subscribe on your preferred platforms. Give me those likes on YouTube. And thank you to everyone who's doing it. It's really funny to see that as soon as it goes up, there's 5 or 6 likes on there. And I'm like, you have not even listened to any of that. But thank you anyway. Thank you to our sponsors, Lucky Star Gin. And a big thank you to today's panel for Claire and Sarah. And thank you to everyone for listening. Next up, I'm not really sure who I've got. I don't think I've got anyone yet for Mansfield. So we'll have to see what happens. Hopefully we'll pick someone up and hopefully we'll get a result, and I've got people going, yeah, I'll come on tomorrow. So we'll see what happens, but take care and we'll catch up soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
United! United! United!